In this episode, we are going to dive into the worlds of video games and music. So, stick around. Dorks and Dorkettes, and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name is Rob, and in this episode we will be talking about some forgotten 80s video games that just so happen to be based on musicians and groups from the 80s. Now, I have to be honest, I was quite shocked that some of these bands had video games, and I think that's what makes this a very interesting topic to take a look at. I mean, of course these bands were pretty popular, but popular enough to get a video game? Like I said, very interesting. I'm going to be doing this episode as a voiceover because I don't want to take any of the spotlight away from the footage of these games. Yeah, some of them are a real doozy. So, without further ado, let's get to number one. Our first video game comes from the year 1982, and it was released on the Atari 2600. This is Journey Escape, based on the Journey album Escape. This is by far the most popular game that will be on this list. Growing up, I remember everyone that had an Atari had this game, and still to this day, I don't really know how you play it, but I remember being fascinated just because it was Journey. Now, let's take a look at the gameplay, shall we, and talk about what it's all about. Made by Data Age, Journey Escape has the esteemed distinction of being the very first music group video game. In the game, you must lead band members side to side to their Scarab escape vehicle. On the way, you must dodge love-crazed groupies, sneaky photographers, stage barriers, and shifty-eyed promoters. Now, I don't think I did a fair enough job describing this game, so let's take a look at the original TV commercial for it.
Data Age presents the world's first rock video game, Journey Escape. The concert's over. Now you must help each member of Journey escape through mobs of love-crazed groupies, shifty-eyed promoters,
I can get you the forest.
and freaky photographers. Find your roadies and manager.
You've got 10 minutes.
And run for the escape vehicle and live to rock another day. Journey Escape for the Atari 2600 from Data Age.
Our next video game was a UK exclusive. It never made its way over here to the States. It was released for the Commodore 64 in 1984, and it starred the Thompson Twins. This is the Thompson Twins Adventure. Made by Quicksilva, and like I said, only released in the UK, the Thompson Twins Adventure was a text-based adventure game, and it was based on their song, Dr. Doctor. The three members of the band must find ingredients to make the doctor's potion mentioned in the song. You travel through several areas, including the beach, a forest, and a cavern. There was a contest that ran alongside the release of the game. People had to listen to the song and play the game to unearth clues. The first correct answer won tickets and backstage passes. Our third video game was also released for the Commodore 64, but in 1985. This is Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Frankie Goes to Hollywood is a surprisingly well-made game from Ocean Software. In the game, you are in Liverpool in search of the Pleasure Dome. You play mini-games to try and reach 99% in your 4 attributes of sex, war, love, and faith. Now the game begins with a murder mystery that you need to solve. You listen to different suspects and you find clues, and you need to pick the right person, kind of like Clue. In total there were 10 mini-games with names like Sea of Holes, Cupid's Arrows, and Flower Power. Like I said, this seems to be a very well-made game, but Ocean Software was known for making good games. I, for one, loved their Batman games that came out in the late 80s. Our 4th video game is another one for the Commodore 64, and it was released in 1986. Now, the Commodore 64's graphic capabilities were the best at the time. This game did not live up to those graphic expectations. This is Samantha Fox's Strip Poker. Maybe I'm being a little harsh because it was a feat to do photorealistic graphics on any gaming console at this time. So I guess they did a fair enough job of that. But this game is a one-trick pony. In it, you play against Samantha Fox, the singer of Touch Me, and you either play 5-card or 7-card stud in a strip poker winner-takes-all scenario. Now, it starts off, she is dressed in a hat, glasses, and a coat, and you go through the various steps until you actually get to see pixelated nudity. Now, I ain't hating, because in 1986 I was 10 and I'd probably be all about this game. But looking back at it now, yeah, this game looks boring, honestly. And yeah, boring games are never fun. For our 5th video game, we are going back to where we started. This is Journey, the arcade game, released in 1983 by Bally Midway. Now, the simplistic stylings of the original Atari game of, hey, get the band members to the escape vehicle by dodging, groupies and photographers and stuff. Yeah, that's gone. Now it's being replaced by you need to collect the band's instruments that were stolen by aliens. Each of the 5 levels is a different mini-game, and the 6th level you play as a roadie, stopping alien concert goers from stealing the instruments again. And if they do, the game starts over. So, yeah, typical arcade fashion, it just wants you to keep pumping those quarters in. Now, the one thing that makes this game stand out a little bit more is the photorealistic faces that are on the band members. They actually used pictures of the band members and superimposed them onto the heads of their digital counterparts. So it's very odd looking, but interesting. Yeah, for lack of a better term, we'll just say interesting. So yeah, I never saw this in the arcade growing up, but if I did, I'd probably steer clear of it. Okay folks, that was a look at 5 forgotten 80s video games that are based on musicians and groups. I have to say musicians because of the Samantha Fox entry. She didn't really have a band. She didn't really have that big of a career. Okay folks, that was a look at 5 forgotten 80s video games that are based on musicians or groups from the 80s. Like I said, some of these are quite shocking because, who would have thought that Frankie Goes to Hollywood would have a video game? Or the Thompson Twins. Journey, that's a given because the popularity of the Atari game. Everyone I knew that had an Atari at that time period had a copy of this game. And I'm glad we had a commercial and some background info, because for the life of me, I never knew what the heck was going on in that game. I mean, a lot of Atari games were that way. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everyone. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the episodes that YouTube is recommending down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky.